Hello, welcome back to the 4-H and school gardens. We're going to check on some progress this week and see what's been going on in the garden. We have lots of growth occurring. The tomatoes are getting quite large, and if you look over this direction, you can see we have tomatoes set, some good green tomatoes. And just below that, look at there, we got a nice sized cucumber. Well, they are proceeding along just as we would expect, but it's also getting late. It's May now, and it's getting warmer. So all those things that liked it cooler, like our lettuces, look what's happening to the lettuce. It's getting tall. We call this bolting. And if we don't take these real soon, they are going to go to seed and the leaves will be wasted. So we need to cut all of these lettuces. So we're going to harvest all of these today and have some nice big lettuces that everybody can share. Now always remember, when you take it from the garden, yes, I know you like those nice fresh vegetables, but there could be insects that have crawled across here. They may have left some fecal deposits. Yeah, so always wash your fresh vegetables. They don't have the chemicals on them like you might get from some other places because you've grown them yourself, but you still could have some small insects or snails, as well as the feces they've left behind. So these need to be washed before you eat them, but it's time to harvest them. So we're going to be taking the lettuces today and removing those. And then look down here what's happened to the squash. We are just loaded in squash. And look at the size of this one. Cutting it off here, that is a nice size squash. So your summer squash, as it gets to this size, you can thump it. It'll sound a little bit hollow because you know it's starting to fill with some of the water, and it'll be ready to harvest. So we can take some of those today. There's even a bigger one over here on this side. I'm going to cut him off also. Look at the size of that one. But look at some nice fresh recipes for some of your squash. Squash can be used in many different recipes. You can eat it fresh, you can eat it fried, you can mix it up into salads, you can make all kinds of things with this squash. So look for some really cool recipes, and I'm sure some of our family and consumer science agents can help you out with some of that also. But yes, the garden is doing great. We are starting to get the fruits of our labor here, and it will continue over the next couple of weeks. As this space becomes available, as I take all the lettuce out, we're going to start some beans. So next week we'll be ready to put some beans into this space when it's been made available from the lettuce being removed. We still need to check on the potatoes, so let's see what's going on with the potatoes. After our fertilizing, we've got another flush of new growth coming out. Hopefully this will be the last burst of energy for them to be able to restore all those tubers and get some nice sized potatoes. These could be taken now for what you call new potatoes because it's been more than 55 days. So, you know, those small ones that you could cut up and roast, you know, not the great big baking ones, but those small roasting ones, those are new potatoes, and those would be available now. So if you've got plenty of them, go ahead and take a few and see what you've got in the ground there. They're still very edible and ready to go. But we're going to leave these because this is a competition with the students that started these on how many and how big they can actually get. All right. How about, remember the caterpillars that we were having issues with? Well, we don't find any more. The caterpillars are all gone. Well, I didn't spray anything, and I certainly didn't sit out here all night long picking them off. and we haven't had the birds eating them. So where do you think those caterpillars went? Well, we have biological controls. You remember the discussion of good bugs and bad bugs? Those beneficial insects? Well, some of them parasitize. That means they lay their eggs inside of a bad bug, and it kills that host bad bug. Well, that's what's happened. We have this wasp, and this is a great big picture. This is a braconid wasp. In reality, it is no larger than 7 millimeters. See that dark black line? That's as big as he ever gets. So if you start seeing something like that flying around, then you want to start checking a few days later, because remember what we saw before? We had caterpillar eggs. Well, now we have braconid wasp cocoons. So once they laid their eggs inside that caterpillar, as soon as they hatched out of that caterpillar, they pupated, they formed these cocoons, and in about 20 days from the time that cocoon's on there, a new little wasp is going to hatch out. So these are natural biological controls in place already in our garden, and we didn't have to pull out any chemicals to control these worms. Now, their favorite food is the cabbage worms, and that's what we did happen to have here. So there are beneficial insects that have specific food that they like. And so you'll have to watch for which wasp or which beneficial insect to control your problems. But in today's case, it was the braconid wasps for our cabbage worms. Everything's growing good. Next week we're going to make some space, and we're going to be able to start some beans and continue the season on through the summer. So keep on growing, and hopefully we might see you live in the next couple of months.